everybody, good morning and welcome to Le Mans. It is the fifth round of the 2023 MotoGP campaign. It brings us to France as well. And this is a very special Grand Prix. Just like when we celebrated the 800th Grand Prix back in 2012, here we celebrate Grand Prix 1000. 1000 Grand Prix have taken part, and with a special treat, we are live throughout the weekend with MotoGP, Moto3 and Moto2 races, and the start of the Moto E campaign as it becomes an official World Championship under the FIM and Dorna's control. The first practice session is about 45 seconds away. We've got 23, I believe, out on the circuit ready to go. And looking ahead as well, track temperature, that's at 22 degrees, air temperature at 14 degrees, 76% humidity. Wind is at 10 kilometers an hour, blowing in from the northeast as well here at Le Mans. So French Grand Prix, get it all up and get ready as well. And don't forget BT Sport now with TNT Sport as well. They've slightly reorganised the running. So everything is just about getting ready for the green light to go on in around about 5 seconds time. The bikes are firing up. You'll see the countdown ticking down. We'll be throwing over to Susie Perry as well as Sylvain Guintoli as well. And Charlie is in there too, Charlie Hillcock. So looking in, away we go. Green light is on. We are underway for the first practice session, and all eyes are on the number 93 on the Repsol Honda bike of Marc Marquez, who is returning after his season-opening crash, of course, back at the Portuguese Grand Prix. Marc is back, but the big worry is, why didn't he have to serve the long lap penalty? Well, as you might have been watching on the Grid network shows, he doesn't have to serve the long lap penalties anymore, because the stewards deemed at a court of appeal that because he wasn't participating in 3 weekends, he served that penalty. So he comes in here without having to do a double long lap in the feature race on Sunday, the main Grand Prix. So he's free to do whatever he likes, and he's a lot of rumours as well saying was he waiting to come back until after this penalty was dismissed because of the finger. It's only taken 10 days. It was broken 10 days ago. It's fine now. And also, he's going to be riding the Kalex bike as well. So that's going to be even better. McCray Cray says, will you be doing Watch On for IndyCar this weekend and the Indy 500 practice on Tuesday? Well, there's that. Our pit reporter, Josh Cheese, already said. Yes, we will. So we will have radio coverage of the practice sessions today. I'll be back for qualifying later on this evening as well. And also with the Grand Prix of Indianapolis tomorrow. That's a Saturday race, remember. Then starting Tuesday, fingers crossed, we will be live all throughout the week as well with IndyCar practice. And we'll also be on USRN Radio, and we'll get the guests together. We're just waiting for the Google Docs document to be finished. And then I can send that into the commentators chat. People can put down where they need to be. So I'm working on that, and it'll get ready later on today as well. 1000 Grand Prix. Should we say good morning as well to BT Sports? I think we should, as for some reason we've got a wrong timing graphic on there. That should be this one. There we go. Let's go over to Susie Perry.
In making the decisions, but this season we seem to have been plagued with controversial decisions, and it did come to a head in Jerez, where problems are already being highlighted by the Marc Marquez Portuguese penalty debacle. Freddie Spencer today meeting with the riders at the safety meeting. What can he say to them to make them feel like he understands their situation?
Well, going off obviously with it, I mean, Jerez was appalling, really. I mean, if anyone needs a long lap penalty, it's the stewards from Jerez. They should be sent off somewhere else, to a different track. I mean, they got their you know, sometimes it's difficult for the stewards. We understand that there's a lot of pressure. They've to make a relatively quick decision. Yes, they can see incidents from different angles, and they have got time to evaluate it. But they were so far off in Jerez. It's hard to comprehend. When you race a MotoGP bike and on a first lap, going into turn 2, as Fabio Quartararo was, everyone's been aggressive. It's a tight hairpin. It's attack or be attacked. It's pass or be passed. and there's a bit of a collision, riders go down, you can't then give riders penalties for that. Unless there's, every now and again you'll see a really silly move and then a rider would deserve it. So unfortunately Fabio was given a penalty for that, which should never have been. He subsequently ended up getting a second penalty for touching the white line on the exit.
Yeah, which is draconian, I suppose, in some respects. Marc Marquez got the penalty in Portugal for a mistake that he said. He put his hands up, yeah, I deserve long lap penalty, that's fine. Then the wording came out. We've got 3 issues here. We've got a consistency of penalties. That's what the riders have been complaining about, probably will continue to complain about. We've got the actual penalties, the decisions that are being made, which a lot of people disagree, the majority of people disagreed with last time out. And we've got the wording of the penalties. We've got 3 problems, really, haven't we, in the steward situation, Michael?
Yeah, and consistency is something you need to be careful about, because if they're consistently making terrible decisions like they did in Jerez,
you don't want
consistency. So that is, it's a double-edged sword. You don't want them to be consistently getting involved. In my opinion, let the riders race, let them self-police in some way. Yes, you need a little bit more in the lower ranks in the youth, in Moto 3, in Supersport 300, as they've had to come down on pretty hard recently. But these are the best riders in the world. We've got 22 riders on the grid. They know what they're doing. They're on, they've all come into this class with a lot of experience, and they know when they step outside the lane. The one person who maybe doesn't self-police and self-regulate is the number 93. So perhaps he's the reason why the stewards feel like they need to push the button a little bit more to control him somewhat. But the rest of the riders, all generally, everyone's out for their own success, but they will look after the welfare of their fellow rider. So yeah, I don't like the in-race penalties. Obviously you've got everyone pushed for the sensors at the trackside, and those green paint track infringements, that's one thing. There's no grey area. Once you hit the sensor, that's it. It's one mark on your card against the 5 that will give you a penalty. But it's where it comes down to the interpretation of the incident on track by the stewards. I don't think they're in a place to make those judgments, and Miguel Oliveira said it so well when he returned from injury after the Portimao incident, that it's only the riders on the track who know how these bikes react with all the aerodynamics and the wings. They're the ones who can make the judgment, not a stewards panel, in my opinion.
Just for clarity, there are 2 stewards and a chairman that are permanently here, and they are obviously Dorna approved. And then if there's an appeal, that is a different panel comprising members of the FIM Circuit Racing Commission, and that's on rotation. So that's how it works. What's your feeling about who should be the stewards in terms of their experience and how current they should be? Because we were just talking about how MotoGP has changed so much, particularly in the last 5 years with the aero and how tight the racing is. Is this why we're in this situation with calling penalties out? Because they're racing right on the edge more perhaps than ever before?
Yeah, essentially that's what Dorna have created. It's taken a lot of years to get to this point where the racing's so close. Dorna came up with a system giving manufacturers concessions for lack of results, giving them almost essentially an advantage to close the gap. We're now in the closest we're in a period where the racing's as close as it's ever been. Got pretty much the whole field covered by a second at some of the tracks. And now, from nowhere, all of a sudden, the FIM stewards are starting to throw out to give silly penalties for, let's say, firm passes. Now, the beauty of MotoGP, or motorcycle racing in general, is we love a race. We love a last lap scrap. We love a proper battle. We don't want to see riders smashing into each other. We know,
no, you're right.
We are well aware when it's clearly a dangerous manoeuvre. But what we saw in Jerez were just what I'd call normal passes were being penalised. And so Francesco Bagnaia had to drop a place during the race for a pass he made on Jack Miller. Well, the door was open. Miller had gone wide. Bagnaia stuck his front wheel in like every racer I know would do, but he got a penalty for it. And the problem is, it's like football, right? In football, if you do a really hard tackle, you get a yellow card. Basically, essentially what the stewards have done now is, it's like now, if you do a tackle on another player, you're going to get a card straight away. So now the riders don't know like, shall I do a pass? There's a gap there. It's a real difficult situation they're in.
And I think what Brad Binder said was really important at the end of the last race, that he didn't try to do that move on the last turn in Jerez, which is infamous, because he knew that it could cause contact, or it probably would cause contact, and then he would get a penalty. That's where we are right now.
Yeah, and the riders second guessing what a stewards panel may do. You can't ride like that. You have to ride with your own safety, with your fellow riders' safety in mind. But as Neil said, it is all about those close passes. It's not a contact sport, but every now and again contact happens, and it is generally a bump of the shoulders, elbows. That's why you see the riders stick out their elbows so their handlebars and levers don't come entangled. But it's part of the sport, and yeah, unfortunately now the riders are worried that they will be penalised for a move, an open door. You can't be second guessing it. You've got to stick your wheel in whenever the opportunity arises.
It's more dangerous if you second guess it, because then you've got the slight hesitation. Again, back to football, if you do a half tackle, someone gets injured. If everyone fully commits, it's okay. If you remember, during COVID, we did a small series called The Greatest Race. Well, the winner of The Greatest Race was the Barcelona, wasn't it?
2009.
The Rossi pass on Lorenzo. Well, that would have been a penalty. Absolutely a penalty, because Lorenzo had to pick the bike up violently. Remember the Laguna Seca with Rossi and Stoner? That would have been a penalty. So, essentially, the greatest races of our era...
The moments that everybody loves are being removed.
You're not allowed to do them. So, that's where I'm really concerned. And I hope... I genuinely mean this. I hope it was just a bad day for the stewards. I hope this is not a taste of things to come, because if it is going to put so many people off our fantastic sport.
I think BT have got it absolutely spot on there as well. We can't allow these to continue. If it was a bad day for the stewards, that is fine. But at what point do you accept one bad day over the rest? Because it's been a myriad of bad days. Josh Tees put, stewards should have just said double long lap penalty at next event rider takes part in. That's the Marc Marquez situation as well, because he's effectively got off scot-free for that penalty, for the crash he caused in Portugal that broke the toe of Roy Martin and severely injured Miguel Oliveira. Off the track goes one of the Ducatis, that is Francesco Bagnaia, just at the last corner, I believe. That's last two, isn't it? It's just coming through the vent corners as well for the back. Runs through the times. Marco Bezzecchi's the fastest on a 132.825. Zarco second. Now Quadraro jumps up into P2 as well. So times are changing there. So it's Bezzecchi, Quadraro, Zarco, Martin, Rins, Binder, Marini, Alex Marquez, Morbidelli, Mia, the top 10. A reminder, for those of you who don't normally tune in to first practice, it's the first time we've done it live this year. Usually it's highlights later on in the evening as well. The top 10 from P1 and P2 automatically go through to qualifying 2. So there's a combined time situation from the 2 practice sessions. The top 10 fastest will then progress to Q2. 11 down, have to go through, and Mark's crashed! Marc Marquez has crashed! Not even 15 minutes into the first practice session on his return, and Marc Marquez has crashed. Just what we were talking about, how he's got to really take it easy and not brake and find the limit. Marc has crashed down at turn 11 and 12, the chicane before the last corner at Recudemont, and that is just ridiculous. Hasn't been on a bike since Portugal 3 months ago, and he goes down. So let's take a replay of how it happened. So it's a cool down lap, but I don't think he's going to push into 10-11. Presumably he's going to be a high side up. Short, just a front dip, turns in, front dips away from him. That's an interesting accident, and it's another big one as well. BT?
I wonder if that's the... we know he's testing the new Calyx chassis. I'd assume it would be, because the weather's
actually
fine.
You can tell around the swing onto it. It looked like it was the new Honda one, so he's got 2 brand new chassis in his pit box at the minute. I don't think that was the Calyx one. At least the one he left pit lane on didn't look like a Calyx one for me at the start of the session.
Right.
So regarding this new Calyx chassis then for Honda, quite a big departure for Honda this is, isn't it? By going outside and really listening to Marc and trying to do what Marc wants.
Yeah, it's really rare. You see the Japanese manufacturers usually do everything in-house, but we know the Japanese manufacturers are so far behind the Europeans now. Let's have a look at He's got some gravel in his eye.
Oh.
It's if you keep doing the same things, you're going to get the same results. So we saw that Honda last year outsource the swinging arm. They tried a Calix swinging arm for the first time, and instantly all the riders much preferred it. So they went in that direction. And then from that point on, they've got Calix to design them a chassis for this season. It's taken a while to come through. They tested it for the first time in a ref test rider. Bradl tested it. He said it was better. And Joan Mir put it in the bike, and then there was actually a technical issue with the bike, so he never really got chance to test the chassis. But yeah, it's a massive step, and it's something that if the Japanese manufacturers want half a chance of competing against the European manufacturers, Ducati, Aprilia and KTM, they've got to start doing something different. And I think it's a real positive thing for Honda that they're going down the Calix route.
Just want to pick up on something there, actually, because I was told this by Matt White from the Grid Network during Wednesday show's Marini Goes Top, 132.785. Bit of an interesting fact here. Yeah. So at the Jerez test, which took part 2 weeks ago on the Tuesday following the Spanish Grand Prix, as you know, we had Stefan Bradl on the new Honda Calix bike. Joan Mir then took it out, but Alex Rins was told he would not get hold of that new bike on the LCR Honda, which is the same team but different branding. So he was very annoyed, and when he got told that Mir had used it, he was furious. Absolutely furious that he never got a chance to use it. So there's a little bit of thing there between the Honda team that they're not letting their race winner from this season, because Rins won on Marquez's bike at the America's Grand Prix at COTA. They're not letting him test the Calix bike, which I think is really weird. And they've allowed Joan Mir to do it, and Mir's having one of the worst starts to the seasons ever. I think people have been calling him an overrated champion. He was brilliant on the Suzuki, not doing well on the Honda. Just quickly, Marc Marquez is 15th, Joan Mir 13th, Alex Marquez P6. Just like to point that out as well. And the spare bike getting set up now for Marc Marquez. Back to BT.
I don't know, I didn't see any... This kid's super special, and I thought, I think he might struggle in MotoGP. And
building though, isn't
no,
he?
he's really surprised. He's done the exact opposite of what I thought. He looks strong. He looks at home. He's a bigger rider. Seems to suit the bike, and doing a really good job.
What about this man on screen then? Jack Miller, a purple patch for him and for KTM indeed. Couple of podiums in Jerez. Third and fourth in the championship, looking really strong, aren't they?
Mark's back.
Yeah, third and fourth.
Yeah, brilliant start to his time at KTM, and obviously he's been in the KTM colours in the past, but in Moto3, so you can't understate how difficult it is to change manufacturers. So to turn up at Portugal, the first sprint race, and being there battling for the podium, to maintain that form in Texas, in Portugal, and then back in Jerez, he was so strong. So yeah, I'm really happy for Jack. Everyone thought, moving away from Ducati, arguably the best bike on the grid, to KTM, that's maybe the last we've seen of Jack as a contender for race victories, but he has shown everyone what he's made of this year, and KTM as well, bringing a bike and adapting it to suit his riding style and taking his input, what he knows from how they made Ducati work. It's been so nice to see. I think the Austrian manufacturer have worked really hard. Two fantastic riders in there, and yeah, they're capitalising right now.
I've just realised something actually as well, is the fact is that we've got the ability now to have the commentators from all our leagues. There's Mark's crash in the top picture there on TweetDeck. We've got the ability, as you can see I'm opening Discord, because we've had the ability to have all the commentators join in and take a listen, but I don't think it's actually set up for this session, so I'm just trying to see. Nah, it's not, won't let me work it, so we'll have to do that for practice too. As well for MotoGP. Then we can have all the commentators to sort of join in via voice chat. Megan Birch will be joining me this weekend just for the sprint and qualifying, as she focuses on her A-levels as well. This will be the last weekend she'll be in until Monaco, so she's taking next week off, and then she's back from Monaco in the 500, then she's taking the remaining off, and she'll be back with us for Le Mans as well in the Italian Grand Prix for MotoGP. That's Bagnaia when he went off the track at turn 12. Just got a little wiggle on the front of the bike and went straight on through the gravel. 1000 Grand Prix, that's why we're live this weekend for all of the action, and including Moto3 and Moto2 and Moto E, so we'll be live with all of those as well. Moto2 and Moto3 is going to be interesting, usually do those solo, so live should be easy, but also Moto E will be live. Around about 15-minute races, short, sharp and sweet. Like with Moto3 and Moto2, not all of them are going to be live, because sometimes they go on weekends where we're covering other series. So sometimes they'll be done in highlights, after the fact. So we'll keep an eye on that. But 15-minute races here at the 1000th race, you can't go wrong. So that's why we're broadcasting them. Look at the times so far. Luca Marini and Marco Bezzecchi on the Mini VR46 team. They have really come into their own this season as well, the VR46. And they are fastest as well. Just 40 thousandths of a second separate them. But looking at it, the top 6, if we take a look at the battle screen here, look at the top 6. They are separated by 99 thousandths of a second. So less than a tenth exactly covers the top 6. That's an amazing achievement so early on in the session as well. And then going further down, the entire grid separated, well, down to Jonas Folger, separated by 3.4 seconds. Ralph Fernandez has not set an actual lap time just yet. Bagnaia is coming out for his second run of the session. 26 minutes to go.
I totally disagree there. Totally disagree. It's Jorge Lorenzo. He said it himself this week when he was criticising. Basically, I think it was off having a product Cal Crutchlow, to be honest, as well.
Not for the first time, is it?
Yeah, not for the first time. What was quite funny is actually Lorenzo was the test rider for Yamaha, and he turned up, and let's say he wasn't in the best shape, and he was well off the pace, like quite a few seconds off the pace, and Yamaha didn't continue down that route, but he's made a statement after a ref saying that he thinks Yamaha have lost their way and they'd have been better off having him as their test rider, which was quite interesting. It's unlike Lorenzo to big himself up.
Obviously, you have to have a certain ego to be a world champion, but you also have to know what your limitations are. And Jorge's not the test rider. He was absolutely fantastic MotoGP racer, but I don't know if he'd have been the best test rider in the world.
No, because it's the unsung hero. It's graft.
In one sense, in the way that he rides a bike, he would be brilliant. But in the head sense, I don't think he would personally be able to get much out of it.
For me, it's, as Neil said, the unsung hero, the person who's doing 100 laps around Mugello on a Tuesday afternoon. No social media, no cameras, no one even knows the hard work and the graft that goes on with the test rider, and it is a tough job. It just doesn't, and for me, it's not suited to Jorge Lorenzo in the slightest.
No, and that's why Cal was so good at it, because you just need to be that
What, are you saying Cal's got no ego?
Well, no, I'm definitely not saying that. No, but Cal's proud. He's a proud man. So if he's going tested, he'll turn up the best shape he can possibly be.
And give 100%.
And give 100%, and be aware of the lap time. And we saw it last year when he replaced. Who did he replace last year? I can't remember who he replaced. But anyway, he did a few rounds, didn't it? And was as fast as Fabio Quartararo on the Yamaha. I mean, it was incredible. So, the test ride is really difficult. One thing on KTM, though, to also add, I definitely say, obviously Dani Pedrosa has been amazing. But they've bought a lot of Ducati engineers over the
they've changed the team, haven't
past
they,
couple of years. They've bought a lot of that information, which you're allowed to do, and I don't blame them for doing that. It's the right thing to do. But that's clearly worked, hasn't it?
The best team is getting the right people around you that can do the job. So they seem to be doing that very well. And I suppose, in some ways, the next few rounds are going to be critical for KTM to see exactly where they are with that bike. This man, obviously, home round for Fabio Quartararo, has had a horrendous season so far, I think it's fair to say. Has really struggled. And when he's tried to do the right thing, he's arguably got penalised and had to do long lap penalties. And here's Johan Zarco as well, another man that's been so close here to getting on that top step, and then something's just happened at the last minute.
Yeah, I think back to his Tech 3 years and putting it on pole position and tipping off, losing the front down in the Garage Bear. He's so unlucky not to have been a MotoGP race winner, especially a home race winner, but turning up with both Johan on form, Fabio on form, a massive French crowd willing them on. A backflip from Johan Zarco on Sunday afternoon would be a bit special. We all want to see it. We want to see him get his first MotoGP race victory, and he's got the tools, he's got the ability, and he's figuring things out. He's still learning and adapting, even though he's one of the more experienced campaigners in the field.
And Joan Mir, plenty of experience for the world champion, former world champion, but what a nightmare he's having this year. And you've got to say, with the amount of crashes, it just dents your confidence all the time. And now Mark's back this weekend. It's going to be a very difficult 2023 for Johan, isn't it?
It's that poison chalice of the number 2 Repsol Honda. This sums it up. I saw a stat after Jerez, and the stat read, Joan Mir crashed more times hitting Jerez 2 weekends ago than he did the whole season when he won the World Championship on Suzuki. Because he's not a crasher. He's a rider that's got a lot of feel, a lot of understanding. He builds up. He's a calm individual. Imagine that he crashed more times in one weekend than he did over a whole season when he won the World Championship. It's bizarre. And then that was during the race weekend. He then went to the test and he was crashing at the test.
He was.
The
Yeah.
problem is, Susie, once you start crashing, and you through lack of feel, because it's always the front of that bike, that front of that Honda, you see how many crashes have we seen? Whoa, Nakagami's got an issue.
Nakagami's, the rear of the bike's failed, so Nakagami's got a big problem. He's dropping oil across the circuit, and so the engine's gone, and they're going to have to bring that one back into the pit lane. Bagnaya's going to cross the line, first, with Nakagami behind him. No, Nakagami's not come in. Nakagami's not come in. As Bagnaya's is on 1:32.555. Now Nakagami can see that there's smoke coming out of the back, but he got a lap time in to put him 9th, 1:33.039. But now he's stopped at the exit of pit lane. That brings out the yellow flags, and he's going to push the bike into pit lane. Or is it? Well, if he stops on the circuit there, it'll have to be a red. So he's got to be really careful. Now the marshals are now moving some of the cones and have brought him into pit lane. So it won't be a red flag, but Marc Marquez just coming out there. Yellow flags now in pit lane only, we're being told. Is that put oil on the circuit, though? That's the question. Now, they've got the bike in. There was a lot of oil that blew from turn 11 all the way down the step from the last chicane into Recruitamon and across the line as well. So, now yellow flag sector 1, so someone else has gone off. Wonder why that is. Is there oil on the track? If so, we'll see the red flags as Nakagami abandons his bike and starts running away. So, that engine had gone completely coming into the last few corners. And it's a lot of blue smoke as well. If it was oil, though, that bike would have gone down mid-corner because it would have been hitting the rear tyre and the contact patch of the slick rears on the flag. It will be on the back. No sign of anything yet. Nakagami's running down the pit lane. Yellow flags are out. Slippery surface flags will be out regardless, says Josh. You are right, they are out. And that is Fabio Di Gianantonio, who has crashed at the Dunlop chicane at turn 3. It doesn't look like he's done too much damage. I presume this is going to be a very slow. The front end of the bike's just going to dip in. We're watching Yoamiya at turn 3, presumably. Oh, super slow-mo crash of Di Gianantonio mid-corner into turn 3. The front dips away from him, and down he goes. So T Vintage says, oh no, yep, indeed. So a lot of problems there for Nakagami. Honda having a horrible session. Marquez crashes. Now Nakagami's engine fails as well. They've got to find some big improvements ahead of the next session going forward. Yellow flag has now been rescinded. Oil flags are in too. So luckily, it must have just been smoke on the back. As soon as Nakagami turned into the two right-handers at Recruitamon, the last corner, he would have gone down if there was oil out there. So common sense thinking about it. And he's just checking to see if there's any oil on his feet now, actually. Yeah, they are actually checking. Oil, yeah. So there's oil on Nakagami's boot, which means there's oil out on the track. So let's hope that doesn't go on. There it is on tweet. Yeah, there it is on tweet deck, just alongside there. That's why we got it. In fact, let's take a little look, actually, because we've got an image here. We care about the rider safety. Also, MotoGP, let's dive our BMW over the track during Moto3 practice. What? Oh, yeah, look at that. There was a BMW on the track during Moto3 practice. Oh, dear, that's not good at all, is it? Yeah, we're going to see, I think. Yeah, there it is. There's Nakagami's bike, look. That's what we're on about. So the engine's blown at the back, so surprised that there's no oil on the circuit, actually, which is good news. There it is back in the pit lane on the image. He's just abandoned it and let it go back now, actually, so that was something we were kind of expecting. Di Gianantonio as well, we knew that crashed in turn 3. Bezzecchi is fastest in the first 2 sectors, but has lost a second now in sector 3 as we're watching him on the screen. Mavi Vinales goes 13th fastest, so has time to improve on. Marc Marquez 18th at the moment on his return. Looks like he might have to go through qualifying number 1. Reminder that we will have practice 1 and practice 2. They will be combined together to give us a time for the top 10 for qualifying 2. Then 11 down, so 11 to 22, will then have to face qualifying 1. Top 2 from that session progress to Q2. And then that sets the grid for both the sprint and the main Grand Prix on Sunday as well. So, and that is the 49 Di Gianantonio with his bike running back down the pit lane on the Grenesci. As across the line comes Marc Marquez. For the final sector, he is off the pace by 3.6 seconds. Marc stays 18th. Jorge Martin goes to the top, 132.460, 44 thousandths quicker. Got a yellow flag out of the second sector. We're watching Pecco Bagnaia in the last two corners out of Fukunaman. Across the line, does Bagnaia go fastest? Yes, he does, with a 132.332. Yellow flag rescinded in that middle sector now, as Aleix Espargaro will be next across the line. 16 minutes to go. This is when we'll see sort of the sweet spot sections coming as well. As they come out across the line then, this is Aleix Espargaro on the Aprilia with his teammate Maverick Vinales directly behind him. Aleix does a 132.866, Vinales a 132.969 on these fast. Back to BT.
46 team who've been heading the way, and both of them so strong. They just seem to be getting better and better, don't they?
Yeah, it's such a good team, obviously, with Marini and Bez really gelled anyway. They get on really well. I mean, and you've got to say, it's a big shout out to Ducati. You're producing 8 motorcycles that are so competitive. You know, in the, I would say the olden days, and I'm talking probably 5 years ago, 6 years ago, it'd have been hard for a manufacturer to actually produce 8 motorcycles to give over 4 separate teams. That they're at a level where obviously Bezzecchi's second in the championship, you know, on what you... Having led the championship, you'd have to go, well, surely his equipment can't be as good as Bagnaia's. Surely it can't, but it's... Well, like I say, it's good enough for him to have led the championship this year.
Just to go back to that Jerez test for Yamaha, who seem to be just squeezing drips out of whatever they've got to try and get themselves a bit more power, a bit more stability. What were they testing? What can they do, Michael?
Unfortunately, obviously, they chased horsepower they found a little bit this year, but it's the power to the ground that they're still lacking. So they jump off the turns, the ability to use the grip that's available from the Michelin rear. They did try some new exhausts, and obviously they tested it previously on track and didn't race it. So yeah, still playing with the engine character and electronics, but for me a lot of it is aero, how Aprilia and Ducati work with their lowering device, work with their aerodynamic package, really extract the maximum power into the tyre to get the forward propulsion off the turn. So it is something that Yamaha need to work on with their inline 4 engine. It's typically been set up to have big flowing high corner speed lines. Suzuki done it in a different way with an inline 4, so they've got some engineers in there from Suzuki. Tom O'Kane's in there working at Yamaha in the background, so they'll get there, I do believe so, with their inline 4. But sometimes the patience that's required to develop mid-season, it's hard to come by when you just want results straight away. So yeah, it'll be small subtle tweaks as Yamaha typically do, but it didn't seem to be massive exterior changes.
Great shots here on the shoulder cam of Johann Zarco.
Yeah, I love the shoulder cam. You can really see what's going on, what the riders are going through. Especially, it's quite a physical track, really. Bit of change of direction, lots of heavy braking is quite physical as well. Zarco's got a slightly different helmet design, looks quite nice.
A lot of people saying that they want Johann Zarco to win the race this weekend as well, because he's in the best opportunity to. He's on a Ducati that is a proven race winner. Prima Pramac have not won this year, but Zarco really wants it. He really wants to push hard. He has been beaten so many times since 2017 when he started racing here. He got close once, and then it lost out on him as well in the end. Top 10 then with 13 minutes to go. Bagnaia, Martin, Fernandez, Marini, Bezzecchi, Quartararo, Aleix Espargaro, Alex Marquez, Zarco and Vinales as well. The top 10 on the board. Having to go through Q1 at the moment will then be Mia, Rins, Miller, Nakagami, Marquez, Morbidelli, Binder, Di Giannantonio, Petrucci, Salvador, Folger and Fernandez, who has not set a complete lap time. In fact, he hasn't set a lap time in this session. Just to inform you as well, that with Enea Bastianini, he tried to come back at the Spanish Grand Prix, withdrew after the Friday, was not well at all. So he still requires a bit more work after his horrible accident at the Portuguese Grand Prix. The same goes as well for Pol Espargaro. We send them both our best. So Daniel Petrucci has come back in after being dominant in World Superbikes at the moment as well. Petrux is back here for the French Grand Prix at Le Mans, flown over from the Circuit de Barcelona Catalunya, where he won last weekend as well. So Martin goes second 72 thousandths off the pace of Bagnaia. It's a 1:32.404. Bagnaia still the fastest. Miller's gone third, Fernandez fourth, Marquez now up to P5. So Old Dog still got the tricks, I suppose. Can Zarco get through into that? He's 11th at the moment as he crosses the line. Zarco goes 6th. Oh, look at that. Alicia Spargo goes up to 3rd as well. Time's starting to come down now.
Corner. What happens then when you're in the slipstream of a Ducati, which is faster? One, it can pull you on a little bit quicker, so you can actually be arriving at that corner faster. So then that throws your braking marker off. 2, the problem is to try and pass a Ducati. Ducatis stop really well, and a lot of that is down to their lowering device is slightly advanced to, well, they're ahead of the Japanese manufacturers. So for you to essentially brake later than a Ducati, but your motorcycle can't stop as quick, you are going to miss the corner. So if the rider that you're battling with brakes at their absolute optimum point, and you brake, and I'm talking, let's say 2 inches later, you will not make the corner, or you'll go wide and you'll just get passed back. Also, if you're in the dirty air, what the riders are saying now, and I've not experienced this, I've experienced it without any wings. When you're in dirty air, it can make the bike feel super nervous.
Destabilises.
Yes, and you'd feel it at places like, when I raced, you'd feel it at places like Mugello, because you'd come over that sort of a nervous part of the... you feel it here at this track's a good example. As you sort of tipping into turn 1, you're flat out, it's 200 miles an hour. Doing it on your own feels a little bit uncomfortable, but you get used to it. What happens is then when you get in the race, because of the dirty air, there's a buffeting sensation. So as you turn into the corner and you're side by side with another bike, the wind off their motorcycle disturbs yours. But now that's increased times 10 because of all these wings. And very clever aerodynamic engineers are working, like Michael's talking about, actually creating dirty air as well to make it even more difficult. So there is a lot going on, and that's why we go full circle back to talking about the stewards and being relevant and...
Big change, like a new era, isn't it, really? I suppose what we mustn't do is head too far down the Formula One situation, otherwise we'll end up like they were in Miami. I don't know if you saw the menu that was tweeted by our friend Tiff Nidell. This is what you'd pay for a watermelon and tomato salad. Do you want to guess? It's for 4 people.
Watermelon...
salad.
For 4 people?
Yeah.
Well, £40.
$250. Ice cream for your dessert. Do you know what you'd have paid for that?
Is it in a restaurant or we're the...
It's in a, hospitality thing.
Oh, in hospitality? Well, it's normally free. If you're with Michael.
Like a VIP lounge.
VIP lounge. Oh, the ice cream's going to be a tenner.
$245. I'm not lying, I've got it in front of me. Nachos, $275. Chilled prawns, $500, or lobster roll, $450. What's wrong with the Balti pie and chips?
Oh, I mean...
Yeah,
oh,
I'm with you on that. It was ridiculous.
I mean, note to self, I'm just writing in capital letters, don't go to the F1 in Miami.
I think everybody's written that, to be fair, with BT. I'm agreeing with them.
On Alex Lowe's stag do. Now, there's not much I can talk about, but it was very expensive. That was. 5 days there was something else.
Any salads consumed?
There weren't much salad, but Sam Lowe's was entertaining. That's all I can say.
I bet there was a few lobster rolls.
There definitely wasn't. Yeah.
Pie and chips, that's the Lincolnshire way.
Yeah, expensive, that, isn't it?
Yeah, to be fair.
Everything that's wrong in the world right there, isn't it, really?
It is. I'm agreeing with them, to be fair. There's nothing wrong with the pie and chips, my lad. As well. Nakagami then, at the moment, I believe, is the only rider out on the track as well. I think Fabio Di Antonio is with him as well. And now Salvador's come out the pit lane as well on the Crypto Data RNF bike as well. So Nakagami doesn't improve. 1:34.285 his last lap time across it. 1.9 seconds off the pace. That's how slow it is at the moment. 8 minutes to go then here at Le Mans in the first practice session. We're about to see the glory runs in the last 5 minutes. So stand by, they are coming. Back to BT.
First lap, it just gives you such a hard job on Sunday and Saturday in the sprint as well these days. So, yeah, obviously they've got a good package. It works on track. So just ironing out those little chinks they've got in their armour.
Mark then returns.
Yeah.
6th fastest. What have you made of him in this session so far?
Well, it's funny because he sort of snuck up to 6th fastest. He's 0.3 off. I mean, I can't explain how difficult it is when you've not ridden for so long And the last time you rode, you had a huge crash. Obviously, everyone's talking about you. You can't even imagine the pressure on Marc Marquez. You come back, you turn up here, it's a cold track, you go out, you crash within about 3 laps. It's almost embarrassing. It's like, oh, everyone's stereotypical. I've done what everyone's expecting me to do. I've crashed again. And then he gets out on a bike with a different chassis, we assume, and he's currently 0.3 off the fastest man in the world. And he's now going out. I don't know if I'm guessing he'll have fresh tyres on, and I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up fastest. Imagine that level, Michael, of confidence he must have to be able to do that.
You know, we're supposed to explain what's going on, and sometimes he does things that you just can't explain. He is a phenomenal rider, but it's his tenacious, it's his mental approach and how he deals with the crashes, brushes them off. As you said, most riders would be slightly embarrassed to come back and crash within a couple of laps. He just puts it all behind him, jumps back on the horse, and off he goes. He is a special talent.
Do you think this session could be really vital? Because I think this afternoon it's meant to cloud over and it might cool down a bit.
I think it's funny when I was just looking at the forecast. I think this afternoon it looks like it's going to get cloudy, but I don't know that there'll be any rain. So I'm guessing. I think this afternoon will be faster because
you want to try and get a lap in here, though, don't you?
You definitely still, absolutely, and I think that's what we're seeing now. Because it's funny, literally 2 or 3 minutes ago, everyone was in, and now half the field are either in the pits or on the outlap. So yeah, you definitely want to. You know what it's like now in MotoGP. You don't know, the wind could pick up this afternoon and then make it really difficult. So you want to get a bank win. You want to be in the top 10. But as I say that, the top 10's covered by less than half a second. It's incredibly close.
Yeah, new slick rear in the machine for Fabio Quartararo. 16-lap old front though, which sometimes can cause you an issue. The extra grip from the fresh rear pushing the front end as you drop downhill into Museum, and yeah, but he'll be pushing on here, as you mentioned, trying to get the banker in, so he's got a spot secure in Q2 as he finishes P1.
Just have a look down at our old mate Danilo Petrucci in 19th in the pit, probably going to come out with a softer tyre and do a lap, but tough job for Danilo, isn't it?
Tough job for Danilo. Do you know what? I'm going to explain how difficult World Superbike is at the moment. Danilo Petrucci struggles to get within 1.3 of Alvaro Bautista, and he's riding the same motorcycle.
Yeah, Bautista's dominated. Sorry, not Petrucci. I keep forgetting which is which in the championship. I said that earlier on. Final 4 minutes then. Here we go. Fabio Quartararo is on a lap time. He's 12th at the moment. Now, if it does cloud over, as Susie says later on, it's going to be crucial this next 4 minutes, because as I keep saying, if you're new to MotoGP or don't usually watch the Friday sessions as well, the top 10 combined from practice 1 and 2 are automatically into qualifying number 2. So it's very important now. Quartararo into the last 2 corners then of Rakudamon. He's 95 thousandths down. This should easily get him inside the top 10. Punch it hard. Across the line we go now. And Quartararo goes second, 132.364 as well. Marc Marquez up into 8th position, 133.836 as well. And looking further back, are we going to see any more changes? Not sure at the moment in terms of this factor. So I'll just get the main camera switched up in the com box so I can stand up for a while. Looking at a replay of Marc Marquez and we're looking at the new chassis. So this is the Kalex bike he's on now. So the one he crashed this morning in the first half of this session was not the Kalex bike. He's on it now. And a new interior mechanism looks absolutely fantastic with the motors going around as well. New air intake on the Yamaha as well at the front. We're seeing a little bit more squarer. Some pineapple juice for Alberto there on the pit wall down at the LCR Honda team. That looks quite fancy. How's the upgrades, Josh? In terms of the commentary box, absolutely fantastic now as well. We've got some soundproofing. We haven't got the heat on. It's nice in here now. So I can shout as much as I want. No one can hear me outside. Vinales goes top then on the Aprilia, 132.186. Morbidelli up to 5th position. Fabio Quartararo is expected to go 3rd fastest at the moment. Marc Marquez has been pushed outside of the top 10 positions now. He's in 11th. Quartararo comes up towards the line on the Yamaha. goes fastest by 1/10.5. Biggest gap we've seen at the front for a while. 1:32.036. Marc Marquez. Peruzi's still got it. Goes second. 1:32.110. I think he might stick with the Kalex bike for the rest of the weekend. Absolutely fantastic achievement there for Marc Marquez. He's enjoying himself. Remember, he's been away since the Portuguese Grand Prix and he's gone P2 already. We'll check the weather before we go off air later as well at Le Mans. As we see Johan Mir going to third. That was a brief checkered flag I saw being blown out the side of the circuit there.
That's encouraging.
Not really supposed to see that. Johan Mir third. Brilliant. Brilliant for the Repsols. They've had nowhere in the past 3 races this season as well. And now they've come back alive. Nowhere in Argentina, nowhere in America, nowhere in Spain. It had to be the LCR team to take America. And that is their secondary factory team. It's the one that Alex Rins is on at the moment as well. As Takiki Nakagami cross the line, then Bezzecchi goes top. 1:31.872. Martin and Miller are much, much faster by 2.5 tenths of a second. Martin is coming across the line now. Oh, he's backed out of his lap time as Marini goes top. 1:31.786. Now Miller, 1:31.449. Martin backed out of his lap time, and he's P10.
Miller at the top of the time sheet.
Very, very weird. How's the box upgrades? So it was good, yeah. Yeah, all going well. Just double checking, yeah. Everything looks absolutely fantastic in here. You can't see much has changed, but you see with this, I can now get rid of it completely by putting it to the side, and the walls have been put better. There's more soundproofing, so it's all better now. Mir into the last 2 corners. He's 2.5 tenths of a second down at the moment with 10 seconds left on the clock. Mir goes third, 1:31.800. So does move up. Binder's looking good. So is Aleix Espargaro. In fact, it looks like it's all going to change in the last dying seconds of this session. Checkered flag is out now. Binder goes second, 1:31.667. Aleix Espargaro is 2 tenths down, estimated to go into P5 at the moment. Marco Bezzecchi also looking quite strong. He's 2 tenths down, but he might not improve that much. Nakagami misses out, goes 11th. Nakagami, the first one to take the flag. Aleix Espargaro from 14th across the line goes into P5. That kicks out teammate Maverick Vinales. Augusto Fernandez goes 11th. Marco Bezzecchi goes 6th across the line. Alex Rins goes 18th. So he'll have to go through later. Vinales goes 7th. That kicks out Morbidelli. Quartararo's at the cut-off time now in 9th position. If it does cloud over later, these could be the best of the conditions. It's why everyone's doing the glory runs now in the session. Booting hard. Nakagami, Martin is down to 14th. He topped the session about 5 minutes ago. That's how quickly it can change. Alex Marquez 4th. Fabio Quartararo is 9th. Marc Marquez is 10th at the moment. 4 tenths down. Does he improve? No, Marc stays 10th. No big improvement there across the board. Zarco 16th. Does he go through across the line now? To 4th. And out goes Marquez. Bagnaia is also running in Q1 at the moment. He's 16th. Can he get through? Cross the line. Bagnaia does and kicks out Quartararo at the moment. Binder goes 3rd. Di Gianantonio 17th. And that's the game. What a run. So Bagnaia goes through, but if it does cloud over, and that's the best of the conditions, Quartararo once again has to go through Q1. BT.
Timesheet, so yeah, there's some work to do this afternoon for quite a few of the top guys.
I tell you, that's quite a mixed bag, isn't it, really? Luca Marini, perhaps the surprise package in one sense, but gaining in confidence, gaining in ability.
Yeah, absolutely. He's the ultimate slow burner, isn't he, Luca? He's one of them who doesn't appear to take massive risks, but figures it out, and it's what he did in his Moto2 career, and we've seen it in MotoGP. Been really strong this year.
And for Jack, what do you think that last little percentage is that he needs, that last click to get that consistency of what he got in Jerez to bring into Le Mans and onwards?
Yeah, when you're starting the first session of the weekend and you're only 1 second outside the fastest ever lap time around the racetrack, you've got to say he's pretty close. So it is still a learning process for him, just figuring out every track he goes to. This is a brand new bike. It's so different to the Ducati he rode around here last year. figured things out, and he tops the opening session. So yeah, you got to say he's not missing a lot, and it will just be small fine-tuning, tweaking with his crew chief Christian Pupolin. They'll get the most out of the package this weekend.
I think the most difficult thing for Jack Miller is going to be his teammate, because he's on equal machinery to an absolute animal. Like, to beat Brad Binder, you've got to fight, and we know Jack Miller's got a fight in him, but it's tough to beat Binder week in, week out. What Brad's able to do, and he's done it with all his teammates, is on his bad days where it looked like Binder's struggling, all of a sudden the race finishes and you go, Brad Binder finished 5th. Like, where did that come from? You know, he's one of them, isn't he? He's really gritty, he doesn't make a lot of mistakes.
Yeah, it really doesn't. Let's take a look then at the weather forecast for this afternoon. We've got it open here as well, so it is playing, as you can see, through this afternoon. It's going to remain about 15 degrees. That's the condition now. Later on for the session at 2, there's a little bit of rain cloud. You see the flash of blue at 2 o'clock? That's when our next session is. So it's at 3 French time, and there is a bit of rain coming. So that could have been the best of the conditions. Take a look at it. Today, it's low of 8, high of 18. Sunset is at 9:26, but look at the humidity, 68%. Feels like 14 as well, but there is a shot of rain. You're seeing on the radar, look, across the map. There's a flash of blue, and it does look like it's going to affect it. So that's a big one. Okay, here's your results then from practice number 1. It is Jack Miller, who is the fastest of all here in the first session with a 131.449. Luca Marini is second. Brad Binder goes into 3rd position as well. Then we got Johan Zarco 4th. Alex Marquez is 5th. Johan Mir is 6th. 7th for Aleix Espargo, 8th Marco Bezzecchi, 9th Maverick Vinales, and 10th position on the board. Currently, the most cruciative point is Pecco Bagnaia as well. Then we get Fabio Quartararo 11th, Marc Marquez is 12th, Franco Morbidelli 13th, Augusto Fernandez is 14th, Takiki Nakagami 15th, then in 16th is Jorge Martin, 17th on the board is Fabio Di Giannantonio, 18th Alex Rins, 19th Daniel Petrucci, 20th is Lorenzo Salvador, 21st for Jonas Folger. Ralph Fernandez not completing an official time in this session. So the riders now are studying the data ahead of what could be a wet-free practice 2. The French fans who've made their way in from across Europe as well are beginning the barbecues. Ralph Fernandez will not continue the French Grand Prix. The condition of his right arm doesn't allow him to ride his Aprilia RSGP the way he wants to. The Spaniard will now focus to recover for the next round. So Ralph Fernandez has just been announced he is withdrawing from the rest of this race. So we will not see Ralph Fernandez here on the Crypto Data RNF bike on the secondary Aprilia. Disappointing. We'll be back then at 1:55 British summer time for all the action from the second practice session. A crucial one at that as well. But for this session, it's Jack Miller, the fastest. Thanks for your company. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.